Hi, it's me, Ingrid INFP, and I've decided that Hozier is an INFJ, and I went to saw his concert last weekend, and it was great. I've now seen the three artists that I like the best in the whole world: Aurora, Florence and the Machine, and Hozier, and I'm so happy that I went. I went alone and I went to the biggest stadium that Sweden has. I looked it up and it can apparently house 16,000 people at a time. I mean, all the spots were not filled, but it was quite filled. So it was probably 10,000 people, at least, that were there. And I haven't been to such a huge event ever in my life, I don't think, because I don't go to football matches and that kind of thing. And the concerts that I've been to have been pretty much like small events. And I was like on the sitting area, like quite close to the stage, but like from high up. So I could see all of the people down under, and it's an amazing experience. And I was just thinking like, wow, so many people came to see this one guy, and oh, he's an amazing person. And I know that, it could just be his stage persona, blah blah blah, but I think that he's a pretty genuine person, humble person. And I realized like there's no way that this guy is not an INFJ. And I cried when he first came on stage. And then I realized it wasn't only because I was so happy to be there to finally see him live. It was also the energy in the place, and also in part because he resembles my INFJ friend in certain ways. And I had a big falling out with my INFJ friend. I won't be talking more about him, but well, I miss him. I haven't talked to him in a few months. But Hozier does some things that like only my INFJ friend would do, or it's like, it's weird because sometimes people with totally different lives will resemble themselves because they have the same MBTI type. And that's what's happening on this channel, We have people from all over the world who relate to this. Obviously, a much smaller amount of people, but it's like, we have people from all over the world that are INFP. And it's just strange that we resemble each other so much, Even though like we have completely different careers, we have completely different like hobbies and all sorts of things, there is something that unites us. And so that's what makes me think that I like MBTI is real. And to me, Hozier is an INFJ. Obviously, that's just my opinion. But I do think that my opinion is maybe a little bit more informed than personalitydatabase.com. Considering the people who are in the comments, some people have really thought this out, but some people just go and like they vote, and that's kind of what happens. Anyway, it's stupid to type somebody according to just like their work, so their art, because in the art world on personality database, basically either you're an INFP, you're an ISFP, or you're an INFJ. There is nothing else, The other types just don't exist. And God forbid there be an artist that's an INTJ or like an ESFJ. Like that doesn't exist according to personality database. But there is often like, the fact is that INFJs and INFPs can create like similar kinds of art, but they come at it from completely different angles. And that's how you could say with an INFP and INFJ. Um, I know that Bufo P was talking about how the INFP and the INFJ are kind of like both dancing together, but like dancing to completely different music. But they're both dancing. It's just that it's like they won't be in sync because they're not dancing to the same music. But you know, the effect is the same, you know? So it's just interesting because my two favorite artists are Aurora and Florence and the Machine. And I think that they're both INFPs. Maybe you could make a case for Florence being an ENFP. But you know, they have introverted feeling, extroverted intuition, that kind of combo. But Hozier is not of that style, you know? I think that the INFP style is, or Björk is an INFP. There's that whimsical, silly little side of like the court jester or the like little fairy elf kind of thing that inside is burning with passion and like intensity. But like so there's like a side of the INFP that is a little bit dark and moody and angry, you know. But on the outside it's like, woohoo, you know, like let's talk about fairies and dance, you know. And the INFJ, it's not the same kind of presence, you know. Hozier has a different presence on scene. Like a lot of people talk about Hozier is kind of like the fairy elf king, you know, but that's not the vibe that he gives off at all. He has long hair, sure, but that doesn't make him a chill person. Or like not a chill person. That doesn't make him like a silly little INFP person, you know. It makes him analytical thinker. I'm not saying that INFPs can't be analytical. I'm just saying that you know, there's a different kind of weight, a kind of ancient force behind the INFP, the INFJ, that isn't. INFPs just don't have that gravitas that the INFJ has. And Hozier he has calculated all of this. Like you can see that he has made sure like that everybody is included. He's made sure to have an impact on the people that he's singing to. He's careful with what he says. I think the INFPs, sometimes we just say things and then it's like, oh, whoops, you know. And you can see that in the INFP artists too. It's like they'll improvise kind of on the spot something. INFJs are not about improvisation, like at all. They want to know what is happening because that's how their NI works, you know. So I think that he has calculated all this beforehand. He has analyzed, he has thought it through, he's gone deep inside like his thoughts and crafted these songs, you know, rather than like the kind of explosive, strange way that INFPs do things. He is very passionate about causes. And it's interesting because he had an encore with 3 songs where so like you know, they leave the stage and then they come back. It was amazing because, you know, 10,000 people like clapping their hands at the same time and like the whole stadium rumbling. Wow. But then, so he had 3 songs in his encore, and one of them was Power, which is one of my favorites. And it's about, you know, social rights and how there are these, he wants to give a tribute to these people who have like fought for civil rights. Mavis Staples and Nina Simone and other kinds of artists that have influenced him. And how they were for civil rights. And he wrote a song about that. And first of all, he was really interested in including each one of his band members and like not giving them one solo, not giving them two solos, giving them three solos each, and like giving them shout outs throughout the entire thing, you know? Never making it about himself, just always making it about all the people that are surrounding him. So, you know, there was a cello player, there was a keyboard player who could do all sorts of things, and one of them was uh, a dark-skinned woman who I think that most of them were from near Chicago. I don't know. Um, I know that Casserole is from that area, so I don't want to get it wrong, but he seemed to have gotten most band members there, and he talked about how you know, the civil rights movements in the U.S. and how it impacted his way of seeing the world living in Ireland, because well, in Ireland they had a war with Northern Ireland and England, and Catholics, Protestants, all that. And he's really interested in these kinds of questions. But then he made the black woman sing the solo. And it was so powerful, you know, because the camera was just focused on her for several minutes and not on Hozier at all, you know. And she was like an unknown artist to all of us, you know. But he presented her and like built a platform for her and also for all these other people. But it was interesting that he made her sing that song, or like he didn't make her, but he orchestrated it in this way, and also that he caught our attention like when it was at its peak to like build a platform for these other people. He often talked about the pre-band, that was called the Last Dinner. I don't know. But he plugged them, like promoted them several times during the show, and like right when the audience is at its most like riled up, like instead of saying some kind of platitude of like, oh, I'm so happy to be in Stockholm, you know, he'd be like, and thank you. Like we were like, yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it was like, woo, you know. And then at that peak of that woo, you know, at the clapping and the cheering, he'd be like, and thank you to the Last Dinner for their performance. And then everybody was like cheering for them. But it was kind of like tricking us into cheering for them. When I know that the people next to me, they came in like after the Last Dinner had even been on stage, so they didn't even see the pre-band, but they were also shouting and cheering. You know, it's kind of like it INFJs want to make an impact, and you can see how Hozier, he can tell like what strings to pluck to get a certain effect. And I think that INFPs, we just make it up as we go along, you know, or we know what we feel is good and right and the way to do things, but it's not like we have carefully thought it out of how the audience is going to react to this song in this order. Or at least if I were an artist, I'd probably order the songs depending on how I felt about them, rather like how I felt like things should go, but not according to how the audience would react and what the vibe at that certain point in the show would be. So it's interesting because for the encore, he did not choose, like, apart from Power, he chose two not as powerful songs, you know, and usually they choose, artists seem to choose like kind of powerful songs to end it with a bang. But not him. he chose a song that was pretty slow at the end, you know. And it wasn't even like a goodbye song. It was just a song. But he knows how to create momentum, you know. And I think that there's this thing with INFJs and the sense of time and all that. That they are masters at like manipulating time, of like getting it, understanding the threads of it somehow. And it's the combination NI and SE, they have a powerful presence. At least Hozier did. And he has the INFJ stare, obviously, the soft eyes, and with like the intensity behind it. It's not the sweet eyes that INFPs have. It's different. And so while he was doing the song Power and stuff, that's one of my favorite songs. But then the last song, he had to actually stop in the middle of it because there was a medical emergency. Somebody fainted in the front rows. And I think that any good artist should, like, you know, acknowledge the people that are fainting and like try to make sure that they're okay. Unfortunately, I think that some artists like find it more of a hindrance than good, but some artists like really care. But boy, Hozier was really caring about this one. He stopped what he was doing and he was like right in the middle of the song, and it was the last song as well. So he didn't care if like he was ending with a bang. He was like, you know, I'm going to make sure that everybody, 10,000 people in this audience, this one person is not doing well. I'm going to take care of making sure that she's okay. And that was great. That was so good. And you can tell that kind of goodness just radiates out. And it's a feat to make 10,000 people quiet, you know? It was quiet in the stadium. It was crazy. Like, he said, is there anybody like who can help, you know? Or, you know, please let us help this person in the front row. And everybody just quieted down, and then a security person helped her out of the area. And like this took several minutes, and people were pretty quiet during that time. And then once he was sure that she was totally like gone, he started playing from the beginning again, his whole song. That's somebody who cares, you know? He cares a lot about people and his fans and such. So I felt like that was a really iffy moment of coming together, you know? So many people. He was also really humble about the guitars, and there was a guy who kept giving him the guitars and the microphone, and every time he would be like humbly saying, thank you, you know, like in the microphone he would also say like thank you, like he would make sure that we all knew that he was saying thank you. I don't know. It was so sweet. Hozier was so sweet, and I think that INFJs in general, they're so caring. They so want to do good. There was a certain point where Hozier was like saying, "Oh, I'm actually kind of nervous about this," and you can see that he really cared about us having the best time and giving out his message. INFJs are rare for a reason. I mean, they're too good for this world sometimes. And yeah, so you could tell that this was a good person, even though like I know that's like he's on stage and that's not who he is in private, we don't know, but he seems like genuinely a good person, and it was beautiful to see. And the way that he can like influence his audience, like he has thoughts of how to do this, it's quite remarkable. I mean, I don't think that anybody can do it like INFJs. And it's also interesting how he chose to talk about certain things. Like, it would be like the wrong moment to talk about these things. Like at the peak of the excitement, he'd be like, well, let's talk about these civil rights people, or like at the peak of the excitement, he starts talking about Icarus and how, well, he has a song called I Carry On, which is about the bliss that Icarus felt when he died. And, instead of just saying it's the way it's about the blissfulness when Icarus felt when he died, he went through like an entire discussion about, what he wanted to get from this story and from the work. And it was amazing that he could talk that long about a pretty abstract subject with so many people. I think that an INFP would probably be talking about something more personal, because like the love of Icarus and such, he said at the end, he just tacked on that, like, that's the way I think that true love feels like, the bliss, and then you just start playing, but I think that an INFP would be less about the symbolism behind the thing and less talking about stuff that the average person would not be interested in. They would talk about other things that other people aren't interested in, which is your personal feelings on everything. But, it would be less abstract. It would be more like trying to make people connect to the feeling of the bliss, rather than the abstract mythology behind it. So I really admire him for doing that. I think that INFJs can make any conversation into a deep conversation. Just like, let them have free reign and they'll talk about really deep topics. You'll be like at the bar, or like you'll be at an amusement park, and then they'll start talking about some, they'll go really deep and abstract about it. And that's what I love about them. I really do. And it can like throw some people off, because it's like, wait, we were just talking about, how the ride it was fun, and now you're talking about like the meaning of life. But that's kind of how Hozier was, and I love that. The fact that they aren't embarrassed of going into these deep, profound subjects. But they want to go into the abstraction. So that's what I had to say about Hozier and seeing him live. I can't come up with anything else. He did talk about that he had been in Stockholm for about 10 days when he was a teen, and that he had that he liked the city, and that we were lucky to live in this beautiful city, and he was happy to be back. But it wasn't, in a way, like when INFJs talk about personal things, it's never really personal. He's actually talking about all of us and like the town more than his experience of it. So I find it really interesting, analyzing this. I am so glad I went and saw Hozier. He's not like an artist that I know all of the lyrics to the songs to, or I'm not the kind of person who actually studies lyrics. Like I usually don't hear the lyrics because I have like auditory processing issues. Like I don't understand what is being said when people sing. I don't know what's going on most of the time. And most of the time, like when I actually read the lyrics, I'm like, what? Is that what the song was about this whole time? And I don't know, I just have a hard time processing that kind of thing. So I don't really know what Hozier is singing about most of the time. But I get the feeling, you know. So that's what I like about him. So yeah, then I had to stay in a hostel, which was like the worst experience ever because I don't like sleeping around other people, especially strangers. I slept like 3 hours and then I had to work the next day, so I had to wake up at like 5 a.m. It was pretty awful, but yeah, so it did make me think about my INFJ friend. Made my heart ache a little bit. But that's just because INFJs are amazing. That's why. So, yeah, I am reading a book that Bufo P has told me to read. It's called No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. I'm getting the feeling, I'm only like a few pages in, but I'm getting the feeling that it's a little bit Camus-esque, like, which I love. I'm also reading Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which is kind of poor writing, but it's kind of easy reading as well. So I'm glad, because I can't just keep reading like really dark or boring stuff. I'm not saying that the books I'm reading are boring, but they're dense. You know, there's a lot to take in. So yeah, I managed to make this video less than a half hour, so I'm glad. Sorry that I haven't been able to answer your comments. I mean, I have barely slept the last few days because of this Hozier thing, and also because of certain things that I've been ruminating. But I've just been at the therapist, and things feel much better now that I let some of that out. I've just been like going to work, going back to bed, going to work, going back to bed, and going to see Hozier, basically. And I just find it so much more fun to make videos rather than answering comments. Nothing against you guys. I love you guys. I really do. Yeah, and you might be excited to hear that I'm going to be doing a collaboration with some other INFPs. You'll find out soon enough of what our little project is. But this is just a little sneak spoiler. I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about this, but I do want to share with you guys that there's something to look forward to in 2024. Okay. So yeah, have a great day, everybody. Bye.